Welcome, one and all, to the show. Wired up, fired up. You know we're ready to go. BlueTruth, New York Rangers Talk with Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Like and follow on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you to those of you who have joined the show live this evening. If you're watching the YouTube replay, thank you for that as well. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Maybe you'll join the live stream one of these episodes. Today is Monday night, March the 20th, and it is the 29th official episode of the BlueTruth podcast. And that's because our last two shows have been emergency reactions to major trades. First for Vladimir Tarasenko and then for Patrick Kane. But tonight we're back to, a proper episode of the show and a pretty great time for one of these. Comments coming in. Ray Leo, resident Devils fan, and watches the show. Ray, I'm peachy keen, so I hope you are as well for non-hockey reasons. Tom O'Neill, a Kane goal recap show. We're going to talk about Patrick Kane quite a bit on the show tonight. Hank and Dick, who I ran into at the game last night, who I tend to run into a lot at MSG. Last night scored Giants 7, Titans 0. Corey Schwartz, man, it feels good to be a Rangers fan right now. And that, Corey, is absolutely true. And as we drop the puck tonight, as the Rangers are on a heater, 6-0-1 in their last 7 games, and their two most recent were very lopsided home shutouts, scoring 13 goals in roughly 24 hours time. And it seems like forever ago that the Rangers took to Garden Ice in Patty Kane's debut and pretty much put up a dud against the Ottawa Senators. I was at that game. That was, it was a good start, not really optimal finish. And really, other than that weekend loss to Boston in Boston that weekend, Rangers find themselves on a nice little run. They enter their last dozen games of the year 5 points back of the New Jersey Devils for second place in the Metro and 6 points back of the Hurricanes for the top spot, though Carolina does have 2 games in hand currently. And what's the streak that they're on, right? It's kind of funny to me because you think back to the games where they had beaten Montreal and Buffalo, and they were both on the road, both in overtime. And then you had that OT loss in Pittsburgh. And even though they had gotten, 5 points out of a possible 6, we as Ranger fans are known to do, everyone was complaining about it and how they barely beat these bad teams. And, we lose sight sometimes that this happens to all good teams as well. Carolina just got by the Flyers the other night with a goal about a half a second left in the third to tie it. And last month, the vaunted New Jersey Devils dropped one at home to Montreal, 5-2. So, it does happen from time to time that you drop a game or two to a team that's not as good as you. And that's okay. Kana says, we aren't catching the Devils or the Hurricanes, but who cares? Playoffs are a crapshoot. Seeding doesn't really matter. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't think it's out of the realm. I think it's overly likely? No, but I don't think that it's out of the realm of a possibility. Bob Trocha, Pens are about to lose. That brings a tear to my heart. Mike Faris, how are you, sir? So, after that break that they had after the Boston game, where they finally found some time to rest and get some practices and to really incorporate Patrick Kane into the fold, they haven't yet lost in regulation. Jennifer, how are you? I think it's a new name to the show. Appreciate all the new people following the show. Have an announcement at the end, by the way. Ray, seating does matter for home ice. It does, but I don't know that really anymore. It's matchups. It ends up being matchups. So the streak that they're on, again, 6-0-1, their last 7, started off light on the fanfare and heavy on the complaints because they weren't winning games the way that we wanted them to win or by the right margins of victory. And, here we are. That Boston game from over 2 weeks ago was the last one that this team didn't walk out of with at least a point. And in 6 of their last 7, they walked away with 2. So good news there for sure. Despite the fact that, yeah, could they have beaten Buffalo and Montreal more handily? Sure. Did it matter? No. They don't ask how, they ask for how many. And the Rangers have been getting points in these games. Andre Sigsamando, I think a new name to the show. Again, I love seeing new people. We love that. Do you think we have the deepest lineup heading into the playoffs? The last show that we did, which was the night of the Patrick Kane, the final, commencement of the long-awaited deal that we all knew was going to happen, but it had to take 2 weeks for obvious reasons, that this was the deepest Ranger team since 94. Evgeny Malkin came out recently and said he thinks they're the best team in the league. Every line's dangerous. Listen, I'll take those compliments. It doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot, but I'll take it. I mean, I don't find there to be any massive weakness with this roster. We're going to talk about the lines, how they are right now and how they're structured, and what that could lead to. Carl Fabry, peaking at the right time is more important than seeding. I would agree with that. If you recall, everybody's on Boston's jock right now, but, a couple of years ago in 2019, Tampa Bay had a year just like this, and they didn't win a single game in the postseason. So, we'll see where that goes. Mike Faris with a really good point that the Devils won't be a true home ice advantage because that's pretty much, up to 7 Rangers home games because the blue will overwhelm the black and red at the Rock Prudential Center. Mark Brown, I love seeing Mark Brown on the show. I'd like to see 2 goalies who like each other and their teammates. And Mark, that's a really interesting point you bring up because so much was made last year that, Georgiev resented Igor and, he had to play more and this, that, and the third, So I agree with you. You're not seeing the jealous card being played by Yarhock, and why would you? Georgiev's out in Colorado. Good for him. It is what it is. But I mean, listen, especially the last 2 games, they have been an absolute wagon. Pittsburgh came into that game on Saturday night, coming off that loss just 2 days before. A really kind of weird, home, mini playoff set, I guess you could say. The Rangers played a stellar game. Talking about the Thursday night game, it never really felt like it was in any sort of danger. And it was a good playoff-ish set of games because especially that Thursday game, and, we had posted something in the post-game reaction along the lines of, they're not always going to be, those pretty kind of wins. And you need to find ways to win ugly games in April and May. And that's pretty much what that game was. It wasn't the prettiest win, but they got it done. And then Saturday night rolls around and they just take it to Pittsburgh. They walk out of the first period with 2-0 lead, and then they just pour it on in the second period. A total and utter destruction. Just breaks my heart to see Pittsburgh and Sidney Crosby get beaten up like that, right? I made the joke that the Rangers were going to get a strongly worded letter from PETA about how they just destroyed 20 Penguins on national TV. but look, you can't. The only thing when you watch a game like that is you start to think, okay, like are you scoring all your goals tonight, or are you exerting everything you got and then having a letdown game potentially the next night at home against Nashville? Because it usually is in hockey. That's what happens. When you have a 6-0 game like that, you come out flat the next night. You have a non-conference opponent, and boy, they didn't get that memo. It certainly did not. I've been to a lot. I've been blessed to have gone to a lot of hockey games at Madison Square Garden in the 30 plus years that I've been going. And I don't recall a period like last night's first period ever. I've been to blowout games. I went to that 7-0 game against the Flyers in 2011 on my birthday that Ryan Callahan had the 4-goal day. And I appreciated that, of course, but I don't ever recall seeing just that sort of pure dominance in that so tight of a time. 6 goals on 7 shots in just over 13 minutes. That was just insane. And I was at the game, like I said, but I got a text from my buddy that Sam Rosen had asked after the 6th goal if there was a mercy rule. It was wild to be there. My wife, Mary Susan, came with me last night for the first time since February of 2020, right before the pandemic shut everything down. And, she was joking with me that she was she was tired of having to get up and sit down and get up and sit down every time that they scored. I posted the 6-0 score on the BlueTruth page with the caption of, just imagine flying in from Tennessee for this. What a destruction that was. And by the way, if you happen to subscribe to ESPN Plus and you really want to have a good laugh for about 20 minutes, go back and watch that first period on the Predators broadcast. I was doing that this evening as I was getting prepped for the show, and it was hysterical. I mean, these guys, they scored. It's 4-0. This team's really good. It was just, it was great. Really, really fun. Great game. And listen, 13 goals in 24 hours is nothing to sneeze at. Really a great couple of games for the Rangers. I would love someone to criticize it. I mean, I know that we do. That's what we do, right? Always criticize what the Rangers are doing. Criticize that. Come to me and tell me what you're unhappy about with the 13 goals in 6 periods, and then we can have a conversation. Tom O'Neill. Miller, Lindgren playing a full lineup and not keeping players on the bench, not to get them injured, is a huge component of the streak as well. Yes. And they're not at full board yet. We'll talk about Ryan Lindgren in just a little bit. Yeah. They're not having to play shorthanded. They're not having to do any of the rigmarole the NHL made them go through to find the cap space to fit Patrick Kane. So they're really getting into form. And Dan, of course, yes, of course they missed Ryan Lindgren, but they're also winning games. So you can't be too upset. I mean, yeah, I think, rest him, he'll be fine. But, Kana, if Boston wins the President's Trophy, they won't go far. The President's Trophy curse is very real. Again, the last Eastern Conference team to win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup, you know them well, the 1994 edition of the New York Rangers. Dan, are you listening to Bissonette and Spit and Chicklets? I pick up some of the lingo. I don't necessarily watch the guys, but I do catch the clips where they don't call us Fugazi. Bunch of losers. Anyway. Connie, your crocodile tears towards the Pens are showing. I will never be upset when that team loses unless they're playing the Flyers or the Islanders or the Devils. Then maybe I think about it. They're like my 4th in the hierarchy of hate. My son knows too. It's Flyers, Islanders, Devils, and the Penguins. Ray Leo, I'd rather see the Penguins and Pens get in the Islanders. I don't necessarily think it matters. I think the wild card teams in the East are just fodder. They're not. There is a clear delineation between the top 6 and everybody else. And there's the first round. And that's the advantage of getting your division win. Whoever wins the Metro is going to have a much easier first round than the 2-3 matchup. And that's just reality. Got a lot easier team. Kana, last night's Pier was beautiful. Oh, it was a workout. Sitting up, sitting down. Loved it. Bob, Florida just pulled ahead of the Pens for the second wildcard spot by 1 point. Okay. Maybe they'll catch the Islanders. Wouldn't it be funny if the Islanders don't make the playoffs after all this? Mark Brown said, I had the Predators feed on last night. The one announcer. Well, here we go. And goal. Oh, I love it. Sav, that third line, I get enough minutes. How are they going to develop? You know what? Deal with that later. They're trying to win a cup right now. They don't care. Gallant said it. He's not here to develop players. And we'll talk about a little bit of that too, but top 6 is top 6. I don't think there's a better top 6 in the league. So it is what it is. I know you're being facetious. That's why I answered that question that way. I had to give you the straight-faced answer to your question. Tolyan, brother, how are you? Let's go Rangers. TSN ranked the second best team in the league right now. Listen, I'll take it. I mean, look, Boston's really good, right? Boston's good. But if there's anybody there to maybe, find their way, just saying. Maybe Boston coming through, Tampa or Toronto. Maybe they slip up a little bit. We will see. But as I mentioned, when you score a Baker's dozen of goals, an average of, one every 2 hours, more than that. It's pretty good, right? But when I look at it, yes, the offense is humming nicely. But let's talk about the defense and the goaltending. First of all, have you noticed, because I have, that the Rangers have not been giving up as many odd man rushes lately. How about that? There have been games this year, plenty of them, where the Rangers make it into a track meet. Every other play is an odd man rush the other way, and the puck ended up in their net quite a bit. Thank you for those who are watching the show tonight. If you are, please go ahead and hit that like on the Facebook post. We always appreciate that. You know, the way Facebook works is the more you like and the more you comment, and I love interacting with all of you. I can't tell you how much fun that is, but it does happen to get it in front of more people, which is always near and dear to my heart. So if you are watching the show, like it. Appreciate that very much. It's a little shameless plug. But as I mentioned, so it hasn't been a track meet the last couple of games. Since, I guess, the Montreal game, you can kind of point to spots in that game. They've done a really nice job of tightening up defensively. You're just not seeing the odd man rushes that you saw in the games prior to. And you know exactly what I'm talking about because every other play was back the other way, 2-on-1, 3-on-2, and it makes the goaltender's job that much more difficult. You know, Valakit with all his, fancy nonsense talks about the Royal Road and passing across, and then the odd man rush is going to kill you. And especially in the postseason when you give them up. So the fact that they're tightening up defensively, I think, is phenomenal. Who saw that? Who saw bringing in Patrick Kane would somehow spark this team to play better defense? I sure didn't think that was the case, but they have. Give them credit where credit's due. They've tightened up defensively, and you can see it. Peter, what's up, brother? How are you? Bob, that's because Panarin's being more careful of his giveaways. That's true. I can see that. Matt Bordegon, again, I think a new name to the show. Matt, welcome. Can't give up odd man rushes when you put the puck in the other net. That's always a plus. You know, I find, Matt, everyone likes to talk about, hit totals and things like that. But the irony of it is, if you're hitting the other team, that means they have the puck and you don't. And if they have the puck and you don't, much more likely the puck goes in your net than theirs. You need the puck to score a goal. So a lot of the gritty Rangers of last year and all that talk about, you got to get grittier to play. You got to play physical. You got to go hit people. Well, if you have the puck, it's probably better. Look, we can talk about the offense, right? We can talk about how on fire it is, and it is. They're averaging 5.5 goals a game in the last 4. But it's, frankly, the defense that should get you excited. And on top of that, not just the defense, but also the goaltending. We have been critical, very critical at times of Igor Shesterkin this year, and it was fair because his numbers had been rather pedestrian, especially for what we had come to expect from Igor Shesterkin. But the last 5 games, I'm feeling the Igor of 22. I don't know about you, but I like the Igor of 22. In his last 5 games, he is 5-0, a .942 save percentage, a 1.76 goals against with a shutout. If this team has any designs of going deep in May and June, we know that goaltending can take you there almost on its own. Henrik Lundqvist did that on a number of occasions. But when you combine the idea of keeping this vibrant offense going that they have, pair it with that tighter defense, and the best goalie in the world, remembering that he's the best goalie in the world and playing like it, that, my friends, is a recipe for a lot of success. And they're being tighter defensively and getting that elite level goaltending again, that is what should get you excited about a month from now, mid-April and May. Because that's going to be the difference. Whatever this top 6 is, whatever this defense is, it is going to be their defensive game and their goaltending that takes them as far as they're going to go, wherever that may be. So, at the end of the day, how can you not be totally happy with how they've played the last couple games? Peter, your question's coming in a segment. I do promise you that in regards to Harpur and Mikkola. Ray Leo, it seems like this Rangers team goes as Keandre Miller goes. I mean, there is some truth to that. You know, he's been up and down this year. Obviously a great night last night, 4 points in the first period. He's a big piece, and I think that they need to lock him up long term as quickly as they can for as cheaply as they can. We'll see if they can. They may not be able to. We'll see how that goes because of the cap. But I mean, kid's good. When he's on, he's on. The problem is like any other youth, it's up and down. It's not as consistent. That's, I think, the difference for him. But, he's playing with Jacob Trouba, whether you think that helps him or hurts him. I'm excited to see what he can do. And again, great game from him last night. So good stuff there. Andre, your question is the same as Peter's. I will get to that. I assure you on that. Mike Faris, our goalies had more points than our opponents the last 2 games. How about that? The Igor assist the other night. The Washington game, actually. But yeah, I mean, they beat the living hell out of both those teams. I ain't going to cry about it. Not even a little bit. And I think it was Bob who brought up Panarin, right? And Gallant's move to split up Panarin and Kane at 5-on-5 is working. And I thought about this on the way home from the game. That's obviously them in Chicago. I thought about this on the way home from the game the other night. Between the overtime loss in Pittsburgh and the win in Washington, Gerard Gallant in his blender finally put together some lines that work. And so much was made. I'm guilty as anybody, right? So much was made of reuniting Artemi Panarin with Patrick Kane and trying to rekindle whatever magic they had in Chicago years ago. And it didn't really come to fruition, and they gave it some time and it just never came. So Gallant said, hey, I want to see these lines through. We'll see how they go. And then, like the rest of us, he just got impatient with it. They had to get some results and they weren't getting them. So he moved Panarin away from Trocheck and Kane, moved Panarin up to the top line with Zibby and Vladimir Tarasenko. And then in his place, took Chris Kreider down from the top line to the second line to play with Vinny Trocheck and Patrick Kane. And what I think is really interesting about these lines is they really do balance out significantly better when you look at them. If you're of the mindset, and I think Bob alluded to it, that Panarin and Kane are at this point mostly one-dimensional players, mostly go offense, not really defensively sound. You're not really going to see them that often with, the aggressive back check. Then it really, as basic as it possibly could be, basic hockey 101, it makes perfect sense to not have the two of them on the ice at the same time at 5-on-5, because you're constantly going to have two players that don't really play defense all that well, and that is a liability. When you pair someone like a Panarin with a Zibanejad, who is very good defensively, he's on their penalty kill, and then you pair a Patrick Kane with a Chris Kreider for the same reason, you're not going to see two guys get caught up behind the rush. And to tie that back into the odd man rushes, that's where a good portion of their odd man rushes they were allowing were coming from, is the fact that guys weren't getting back and they, pass goes off the boards. Remember the Kane, the shorthanded goal in Montreal where Kane just misplayed the puck, went back the other way. That's an example of just getting caught high. When you have them paired with someone that's more defensively responsible, those things are less likely to happen. On the flip side, in the offensive zone, Kane and Panarin are always, looking to make this perfect pass. So putting them together with a center like Vinny Trocheck, that probably isn't going to lead to, a lot of goals. It's going to be 10 and 88. Look as who can make the prettier pass for the ESPN top 10. When you when you combine a playmaker like a Panarin with Zibanejad and Tarasenko, both of whom clearly don't have any concerns about shooting the puck. Tarasenko shoots a lot and it's good. And, Zibby's got a cannon, right? So that's number one. Same kind of premise with Kane and Trocheck and Chris Kreider. We know that Kreider's going to shoot the puck. Trocheck does too. So, to incorporate a touch of Star Wars to the conversation, they've brought balance to the force. Neither line, because of the balance now, is a defensive liability because there's not 88 and 10 on the ice together being a defensive liability and trying to make cute passes to each other. Both lines aren't afraid to shoot, which again, if they're passing to each other, they're probably not shooting. So everything, at least for the time being, seems to be working swimmingly with the lines. And I haven't even mentioned the fourth line and how they've meshed so nicely. It's such a better team when guys like VC and Barclay Goodrow are slotted in support roles, correctly support roles in the bottom six. And they're not trying to square peg round hole a guy like a Jimmy VC, on your top line with Zibanejad and Kreider. And it's like, why are you doing that? Because they didn't have the depth on the right side. And that was the whole all year. They were aggressive and they fixed it. Brought in Kane and Tarasenko. So the lineup currently with, again, the top line of Zibanejad with Panarin and Tarasenko. And the second line, which really is like 1B, with Trocheck and Kreider and Kane, it allows you to keep the kids together. Now, Heedle noted recently, I forget it was the New York Post or something, but it might have been Larry Brooks. He said that they understand that with the level of talent in the top six, it is going to somewhat limit their minutes, and they're okay with it because they get it. They're trying to win a Stanley Cup, so whatever works, works. I've been very happy with it. Heedle scored a nice goal last night, so you're going to see their confidence get a little bit better. When you can roll those lines, even in the playoffs, I don't know who do you defend? Like if you're trying to play against the Rangers, what lot? That's the depth that you have, right? Like what does the other team's top defense pair? Is it the Zibanejad line? Because then who are you going to put on the second line? Again, that's what depth will do. Corey. Mikkola hasn't been put in a situation where he hasn't been brought here to do. He didn't come here to play top pair with Fox. Think that is part of the past issues on defense. Just a thought. Peter, I love Red with Zibby, and really, you should. Playmaker and a sniper. And how great was his goal against the power play goal, the 4-on-3 against Nashville, where he just kind of head fake, lets the screen come right in front of UC Saros and just blasts it rough the pipe and in. Great seeing eye shot. When he shoots, but he really wants to pass. And that's why him and Kane together, I think, again, I wasn't really watching a lot of Blackhawks hockey at the time, but that's what worked back then. It's not working now. Having them separated, I think, is the best thing for the team. Mark Brown, I said back in the early part of the season about getting Kane and Panarin together, Igor might quit. Well, yeah, because again, it's a defensive liability. And when you don't have them together, when you have defensively responsible forwards, yeah, it's working. For what it's worth, it is working. Peter, that was Larry's article. Thank you. In the Post. It was spot on. Yeah. I mean, that's what you want to hear from your youth. Like, they get it. When you think, and look, I'm at the point right now where I'm not going to start blowing my head off with the salary cap next year because they're doing something right now. And at the end of the day, and I say this all the time, what they're doing right now doesn't really matter. This regular season, for the most part, never really mattered for this team. It was always going to be what they did in April, May, and hopefully June. So this is nice. It's great that they're playing well. Wins and losses don't really matter to me. It's how they're playing, and they're playing well. Those are correlations you can draw into the postseason. Because they're going to get Carolina or Jersey. We know this. At some level, it doesn't matter where the Rangers finish. unless they win the division, but that's not likely. They're going to get Carolina or a jersey. So unless they do, now we could have that conversation. That would be really funny. But assume that that's not, At the end of the day, these games they don't really matter that much. As soon as that clock ticks mid-April and you start game one, then it's going to matter. But again, I'm not unhappy at all to see them playing well, because again, that's what you can draw forward. Mark Brown, I know you mean Kane and Tarasenko. Drury needs a hug. And Mark, to your credit, you were very vocal against the idea, probably because I think you thought that it would cost a lot more. I wasn't your issue was not so much the acquisition of the players, it was your perception of what the cost was going to be. And I was in the camp the whole time that Kane wasn't going to cost them a ton, because it just, sellers, it's buyer's market for him. He wanted to come here. They owned Chicago in the deal. So I'm pretty sure, just knowing you, and I do see you post a lot of social media, and you do wonderful work. I mean, I enjoy all of your stuff. But I think that you were more along the lines of you were more concerned with the cost than you were about actually having the players. Was the juice going to be worth the squeeze? I would think you, at this point, were on the same page with that totally worth it. Because in the grand scheme of things, you only get so many runs at this, and this is a very deep Rangers team now as a direct result. They filled their needs very, very well. Bob, Tarasenko makes this team so much better with the style of play. He puts us above the rest, and that's true. So what made the lines better last year, right? Everybody talks about Cop Vetrano and, all that fun stuff. Then Mott's back. But Cop and Vetrano. So Vetrano, who is not this goal-scoring dynamo, when he was on that line, he was shooting. And that's what made, wow, this guy's scoring goals, because he is shooting. Tarasenko does that at a much more elite level. So, yeah, I agree with you. I love Vladimir Tarasenko. Should have been a New York Rangers draft pick in 2010. We're not going to rehash 13-year-old history at this point, but that was a mistake, clearly. And he's tickled pink to be here. Now, do I think him or Kane are back next year? I do not. Money's money. They can go make it elsewhere. Unless Kane takes a sweetheart deal because he wants to play here, I think he's going to Buffalo. It's a lot of cap space in Buffalo. Up and coming team. He's from there. I can totally. I was asked that question. I think Diane Ward, I want to say. Anyway, asked that question and I had answered it. That I felt like Buffalo was his most likely landing spot in the offseason. Mark, no, man, thank you. Thank you for always been interacting with the show. I enjoy, whether we agree or disagree all the time, doesn't really matter. I enjoy the back and forth because you know what you're talking about. I may not always agree with you, and you may not always agree with me, and that's okay. It's perfectly fine. But, I always, respect your viewpoint, and I do, listen to you. I'll put it to you that way. Matt Bordigan, which team do you want in round one? Canes minus Svechnikov or inexperienced Devils? We're going to talk about that as I get into the home and home coming up this week with Carolina, because I think it's going to tell you a lot about where this team is. A couple of you have asked, what do they do when Ryan Lindgren returns? Will Niko Mikkola or Ben Harpur sit? And also, who should? And I've seen this debated around social media, and I will preface this by saying I am anxiously awaiting this problem, because what that means is that Ryan Lindgren is back on the ice, and he's been out since February 25th. TJ Oshie took him into the boards. I don't know how much of a dirty hit it was, but it did something to him. A lot was talked about in that game of putting him on LTIR, and, maybe in retrospect, had they done that, the whole Kane thing might have been easier to get under the cap. It is what it is. But they seemed to think that he'd be ready and back sooner than later at the time. That hasn't really come to fruition. But Gallant did say he was close to coming back for these weekend games, which obviously they didn't need him for because they didn't allow a goal. It feels, though, and I want to hear from you guys, it feels that it's going to happen relatively soon here. I feel as though it might even be as early as Tuesday against the Hurricanes, the home game of the home and home. So the question is, who sits? Mikkola or Harpur? Comments a couple coming in. I'll get to that in a minute. Wasn't anything to this. And the question was brought up earlier in the show from Peter. What are your thoughts on Harpur Mikkola? And I also believe somebody else mentioned it. I'm looking through the comments here. I just want to acknowledge who it was. It was Andre Sigsamando as well. I can't see the comment right now, but I remember the name that he said it. There it is. Do you swap Harp and Mikkola in the playoffs? So I think Mikkola will stay in the lineup. I say that because he was the deadline acquisition with Tarasenko. I think he'll be given every opportunity to keep that third pairing spot. But let's be real here, guys. Ben Harpur has been tremendous for the Rangers. And I can't imagine anybody in their right mind would have thought that Ben Harpur would have been anywhere near as effective as he has been. And he was thrown into some really, really big spots. You know, you go back to that Kings game, and the Rangers played 4D the whole way after Keandre was ejected. The team played short for a week and getting the cap to fit Patrick Kane. And he really did an amazing, amazing job. So I don't, it's not a slight against Ben Harpur, who is not a top 4 defenseman, clearly. But I think he will get that spot. I think he'll be given every opportunity to lock it up the rest of the way when Lindgren comes back, whatever that may be. Is it tomorrow night or Tuesday night? Don't know. Is it Thursday? Don't know. It sounds like it's closer than it previously has been. He's been skating, so we'll see how things go. My gut just tells me they're leaning more towards Mikkola because of their investment in Mikkola. And it does help that if something were to happen, you're not, I forget, who was the 7th defenseman last year? Libor Hayek? No. I mean, Justin Braun played fine, whatever. But it's just, you feel better knowing you have the depth there. There's comments coming in. Tom O'Neill, Kopp, Vetrano, and Mott. I believe they average more minutes too. Now the top 3 lines are better. Well, they're more balanced too. Because let's be honest, Tom, look, Frank Vetrano's not a top line player. Andrew Kopp's a middle 6 guy. Nice player. I liked him here. I would have been fine if they decided to sign him to play that role, but I mean, everything's kind of worked out. So I'm not upset about that. Right. Carolina's a much different team without Svechnikov. I agree. I love Svechnikov. I really like a lot of what Carolina does, and I hate that. But yeah. Corey, Mikkola, if he can't stay out of the box. Mark Brown, 24 days, 10 games. He'd be eligible to return on Thursday if he went LTIR. Right. Which again, now it's revisionist history. Like, oh, you clearly should have done that, but he didn't. And they can't do anything about it now. They don't need the cap space now. They can't go sign anyone, trade anyone. So it is what it is. I would be curious, though, had they LTIR'd him at the time, would they have been a little more aggressive maybe at the deadline and adding just another body because you could afford it? That's a conversation you can have. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Not here and there. Tom O'Neill, 11 forwards first game. I doubt it. You're being facetious. Matt, for me, Mikkola brings more of a physical presence. I would agree with that. Harper's not a small guy by any means, but I think that's more Mikkola's game. And I think that differentiates him from, the Foxes of the world and in that he will go hit somebody, or at least as we're supposed to do. John, they are holding him so they can have him as healthy as possible for, I think he needs surgery, but is going to wait until after the season. Maybe that's possible. It is what it is. Everybody plays hurt, in the playoffs, but the Rangers need him. Again, have they won these games? Sure. This is not the playoffs. And you go back, I think it was Jackie Redmond on NHL Network who brought up some of the numbers, how badly the Rangers really miss Ryan Lindgren, how many more games they win with him in the lineup. Crucial. Any shot they have, you got to have your depth on defense. And I think that I'm okay with him taking the time. Just get him back for mid-April. Get him back after that Maple Leafs game, last game of the season, and get ready for a postseason run. And if he gets him early, that's fine. If he's healthy, great, but I wouldn't rush him. as Mike Furry said. He's a warrior. The rest will benefit his body for the playoffs. Anthony says Harpur is the safe bet. He's disciplined. I can see some of that, but again, I don't think when you go and acquire a Mikkola and you pay him the 1.75 against the cap that you're not going to make sure. I think that Mikkola would have to lose it rather than Harpur would gain it, if that makes sense. It's his job to lose, and maybe he will if it continues to be a parade to the penalty box. But yeah. Bob, I prefer Mikkola. No problem with Harpur. Just what I've seen, toughness, size, and fit. Peter agrees. Mikkola should be the choice. He's been there. Good to see Harp capable if the need might arise. Jeff D'Amico, welcome in. First comment from you. I prefer Mikkola. Also, his size opening things up in transition. Mark Brown. Drury saw something when he gave Harpur the extension at the league minimum, and some fans didn't like the signing. So, Mark, you know this, right? Because I see you active in Ranger groups. Our fan base generally does not have a good understanding what the salary cap means. And they want everybody. They want Jacob Chikrin, and they want Erik Karlsson, and they want all these guys, and they don't realize numbers. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? No, because you can't add numbers up to be under a salary cap. Nothing wrong with Ben Harpur. For his role, nothing wrong with that. Listen, Jimmy Vesey's making like no money next year. That's great. That's perfect. That is what you need. What you really need Patrick Kane to do is take a page out of Mark Giordano's book in Toronto and take a veteran minimum to be here because you want to go win something. Will he do it? Probably not. Not getting excited about it. I'm just saying that is what, you look at deals with teams like Tampa where people take these like what appear to be below market deals to stay there, have a shot to win. The Rangers are a destination now, and maybe you see some of that. That's what I think I would like to see them do. I don't think Tarasenko's going to do that, nor should he. He can go make his money. I don't see it. So enjoy him while you can. Tom said he's being serious. I think 7D, 11 forwards, first game back. Well, what forward sits? Are you going to sit Mott or are you going to sit Vesey? Seriously, that's a serious question. How do you decide that? So that's why I don't think it'll be 11. I don't see that. What's scary is they're finding ways to win without him. So this team should be even better when Ryan returns. Completely agree with that. Saviors in my head. Yes, I know. There's no tax in Florida. I am so far on the boat of salary caps should be state tax adjusted. Not for tonight, but I agree with you. It is an unfair advantage, and caps are meant to level it out, and they don't do that. So yes, I agree. John, who would you rather see us play? Carolina or Devils in the first round? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But yeah, just to put a bow on this topic here, I believe Mikkola will stay in the lineup. I believe he will have a moderate length leash, and it's probably his job to lose. But it is comforting that Ben Harpur's waiting in the wings if something were to happen. Rangers will have a home and home with division-leading Carolina this week, Tuesday and Thursday. As was mentioned by a couple of the commenters earlier on in the show, Carolina suffered a major loss recently with one of their star forwards, Andrei Svechnikov, now out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury. That is a huge blow to that team offensively. Probably neck and neck with Aho as their most talented forward, and it leaves just a major hole for them. And if you go back, they really weren't super aggressive at the trade deadline. They were linked to Timo Meier, and obviously he didn't go there. He ended up in Jersey. They're also missing, don't forget, Max Pacioretty, who they acquired for nothing from the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for cap space. Now, he missed most of the year to start, came back, aggravated that injury again. He's now out for the year. So, maybe it's not their year. I don't know. I mean, Svechnikov is awesome. I love him. One of my favorite non-Ranger players. But at the same time, Carolina is the NHL's best team at 5-on-5. on both sides of the equation, not just in generating shots, because they are number one in the league at shot attempts at 5-on-5, which, as we know, that means they have the puck a lot. And when you have the puck, only good things can happen to you. Conversely, and maybe related, they also do a very good job of suppressing shots defensively. They allow the fewest. So in most games that Carolina plays, they have the puck more than you. That is good for them and not for you. Carolina is second only to Boston in the league in points percentage, 721. Devils are third. Rangers are fifth. Rangers are fifth best in the league and third in their own division. Cool. Our luck, right, guys? Any chance at all that the Rangers have to make a run at the top spot in the Metro, this has to be 2 regulation wins. No overtime, no shootouts, no losses at all. You need to walk away with 4 points and keep Carolina to 0. Ray Leo, please go out and beat them both games in regulation. I hear you on that. But again, if that's the case, I'm almost positive, and now you're going to go make me look, because I think the Rangers are 4 points back of the Devils. 4, is it 5? It's 5. Okay. So if the Rangers win these 2 games, they will be 1 point behind the New Jersey Devils, depending what the Devils do. The Devils upcoming, they have the Wild tomorrow night. It's not an easy game. And then they go to Buffalo. Devils schedule. I mean, the Devils do have Boston the rest of 1 game, the rest of the way. We'll see. But yes, I agree. I think from a Devils fan perspective, I don't really care who wins these games as long as they end in regulation. No 3-point injuries. No 3-point injuries. No 3-point games. I think that's probably what the Devils fan would like. For the Rangers, again, if you have any shot, if you want any shot of winning the Metro and getting the easy first-round matchup, you have to win these games. I know it's asking a lot. They're 6-0-1 their last 7. But it's just crazy. For as just average as their start was to start the year, referring to the Rangers, the fact that they kind of find themselves, again, 5th best points percentage in the league right now is really kind of remarkable. I mean, again, I just want to reiterate that when they lost to Chicago and the Trouba threw his helmet, they were 11, 10, and 5. They are now 41, 19, and 10. So from that Chicago game on December 3rd, they have lost 9 games in regulation since. They've been doing well. So, yeah. Look, they've played this team well this year. They haven't really seemed to be a problem for the Rangers. The Rangers beat them 5-3 at the Garden on the 3rd of January. They beat them 6-2 in Carolina on February the 11th. So the Rangers, going back to the last 2 games of the series last year in the second round, allergies suck, guys. They've not had much of a problem with Carolina. So can they win the 2 games? Sure. Is it asking a lot? Yes. Carolina is still very good. Carolina is still a favorite to win this whole thing. However, I'm getting to the point where it's like, why not us? Like, I'm getting to the point where I'm asking people, tell me what they don't have. Like, if you want to criticize the Rangers, that's fine. I do it all the time. I love them with every fiber of my being, and there's no one in the world who's going to be happier if they find a way to win this whole thing. I will lose every bit of liquid in my body coming out my eyes that night. But my point is, if you want to criticize the Rangers, I will give you the floor, not just theoretically. Tell me what they're missing. As deep a top 9 as there is in the league, excellent 4th line. Defense, pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the best defense in the league, but I think it's definitely they can hold their own, especially with the elite play of Adam Fox. And again, a goalie capable of being the best goalie in the world. And right, I hear what you are saying, right? No, I'm not. Look, if we're having a discussion a month from now and the Rangers got swept in the first round, I'm not going to be surprised by that because of the way everything is. Because of the tightness. Again, the fifth best record in the league is the third best record in this division. It is what it is. But what I'm saying is a lot of people want to criticize, the Rangers this, the Rangers that. They're going to, okay, I mean, talk shit, I talk shit too. But approach it logically. Like, tell me what you don't like about the team. Tell me what they're missing. Because I don't think they're missing anything. This is the deepest team I have seen them put on the ice since 1994. It is. And again, the Nashville broadcast is like, they just keep coming at you, line after line after line, elite level talent. Yeah, they do, because that's what they are. And I don't know how many better runs, better position they'll be for a run than they are now. Was the league cooperating? Hell no. It's going to be difficult. It was difficult last year. They got through it. It seems better than last year. It seems way better than last year. Again, if they can continue to play this better level of defense and they get last year's Igor, right there, Jeff. Because if they can limit your shots and the goalie can stop the ones that you do have. Yep. Special teams. Well, the power play is great. I don't know about the penalty kill necessarily, but your best penalty killing is your goaltending. If the goalie John is who he was, that's part of it. So, is some of the what ails the PK, which where are they even ranked? I got to go look now. I wonder if I can go find that relatively quickly as to where their penalty killing is ranked. Team statistics, goals per game. It doesn't even give it to me. It's, you think 17th power play. Oh, here we go. The PK is 80.3, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They are 13th in the league. Penalty kill. The power play is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 23.4. Not Edmonton's, obviously. Look, again, it's a salary cap league. It's very difficult to be good everywhere. But seriously, like if we're going to, what are they missing? And I always bring this question up. Not deadline's over now, right? So it's a moot point. But okay, if you say that they're missing X, whatever X is, fine. Who are you replacing? Because you like your first line. You love Tarasenko. You love Panarin. You love Zibanejad. X. Line 2. Kreider, Trocheck, and Kane. You just got Patrick Kane. Trocheck's played well. I think least of my problems. And Kreider's Kreider. Fine. Third line, kids. Who are you getting rid of? Okay. End that discussion. So now we're on the fourth. Now we like the top 9, so now we're on the fourth line. Who do we know? Who are we replacing? Tyler Motte just got back. Goodrow is probably going in the offseason, different discussion, but he plays his role very well. And VC's not getting paid anything. So now we like our forwards. Cool. Defense. You're not replacing Fox and you miss Lindgren terribly. X. You're probably not getting rid of your captain, and Keandre Miller's a young kid. You love that. Fine. Braden Schneider, great. So again, like we're going to have these discussions. Oh, man, they really could use better defenseman than Niko Mikkola. Okay. So my biggest concern is their third pairing left defenseman. Cool. I'm all in. If that's what we're going to go down to, like I think at some point you it doesn't get much better than this. Not for this team. We're not blessed with the Pasternaks of the world. I mean, look, I'd love to have Boston's problems, but going into the playoffs, ceiling is there. Look, again, if things don't break their way and bad things happen, they're out in the first round, I'm going to be upset. Yes. But I'm not going to be shocked because that's hockey. Things happen. Good teams lose in the playoffs. A lot. Rangers did for many years. Tampa did a couple years ago. So, again, I am very glass half full right now. Glass is 3/4 full. I'll put it to you that way. So, I'm good there. Corey, Boston will be tough to beat. Oh, yeah. Oh, listen. Nobody said it was easy. A little Coldplay. They have a hard road. They're going to have Carolina or Jersey, and then probably Boston, if not Tampa Bay or Toronto. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. The playoffs you're going to want to gouge your eyes out a lot. You're going to throw up. It is not going to be. It is. It's playoff hockey's nauseating to begin with, but this run, whatever run they're going to go on, as short or as long as it is, it's going to take everything out of you because there's no easy nights. None. Peter, my brother, look, would you have better players certain positions? Yes, but this team doesn't have any holes anymore. Need a right wing, we got two. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. Like, who do you replace? Like, who do you point to, Peter, and say, I want to replace that guy? Like, realistically. Maybe Mikkola? It's a pretty good night when you ask what's wrong with the team, and I'm like the owner and the announcers. Yeah, these are first world problems in the hockey world, right? I mean, things are rolling along. Chugging along. Jeff D'Amico, power play getting better too? It is. Because now, Jeff, there's not one unit out there for a minute 30, and then the other guys like get a rush. That's balance, right? So, like, who do you put your top PK on? Depth. You're not going to get this depth in future years. You're just not. Because you have Kane and Tarasenko on no money. In a cap league, it's very hard. Dave Christmas says Revo is a goal scorer now. Yeah. Ryan Reeves. I love that argument. Oh, the Rangers need that. Yeah, there it is. Rangers need that enforcer. Yeah. They need that guy to go, Shusty, release us. Yeah, cool. People find them, all they want to do is criticize. And listen, I do it too. It's in my nature. But right now, what, they're not winning games the way you want them to win? They're 6-0. Oh, they should have beat Montreal by more. Yeah, maybe, but they didn't. They won. Shut up. Oh, Buffalo's not good. He had to go to overtime. Okay, they won the game. Shut up. It's just, Yeah, Tom, right there. Sammy Blais scoring more goals than Terry. Cool. Awesome. I don't care. If I never see Sammy Blais again, it'll be too soon. Ronnie, I think I don't remember the name. Ronnie, if you've been on the show before, I apologize I didn't recognize you. Thank you for watching. Give us a like. I appreciate that. If we take 2 from Carolina, all perspective changed, then we fear no one. I don't fear him now. I don't fear any team specifically. The Rangers can beat anyone. Will they? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they can. It's not. You think back to 2012. You think back to those games where black and blue shirts, like if they got scored on, you thought it was done. Oh, they're coming back. Mind you, this was the 1-seeded Rangers against the 8-seeded Ottawa Senators being down 3-2 in the series. I went to game 5. It was miserable. Brian Boyle was scoring goals to keep the season alive in game 6. Like, that's what that team was. Like if you just step back and just like look at who's on your team right now, and you still find reasons to bitch and complain, I don't know what more could Chris Drury have done? Thank you, Corey. Malkin said it. Look, again, none of this means jack. They may just lose in the first round and this will all be for naught. First person to say that. But how can you not get excited? Terry, I figured I'd see your name tonight. What's up, brother? So again, we'll see what Carolina brings. I would love to see 2 wins, 2 regulation wins. I'd like to see them be dominant in those games. Even if they got to win like a tight game, again, if you can take 2 from them, I think that's important. I do think them without Svechnikov is a big thing. That's great for the Rangers. I don't know that I really care which one of them I play. If I got to play one or the other, I got to play the one in the next round, so I don't really care. What I will say is if they do find a way to get into that top seed in the Metro and end up facing a Pittsburgh or Florida or an Islander team, I'm good. Way better. Anything you can do to make your road easier, sign me up. Last year they went to 2 7-game series in the first two rounds and it gassed them. Just did. Tampa Bay was fresher. As soon as Tampa got their sea legs in game 3, it was over. So they need to win shorter series. Joe D'Angelo. Playoffs are a tough grind. Depth can be deciding part to victory. Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, right now, I think if you told me who are the 3 players that you desperately can't afford to get hurt, the goaltender, the top center, the top defenseman. Everybody else, would I hate to lose them? Yes. It's not a death knell. When Mika had that ankle shot off the ankle against LA, I thought the season was over. We're fine. Which goalie should we be more concerned with? Dude, I am not a Vitek Vanacek guy at all. Like, at all. His playoff numbers are god-awful. So, again, I fear no man. Like, I'm not worried. Like, if they end up against Boston, could they lose? Yeah. Could they win? Yeah. All these look, Boston's got nothing to play for, right? The rest of the way. So like you don't have that edge the way when you have to win, which you can say the Rangers may suffer a bit of that too. Bessie doesn't win the cup. It's the hottest. Yep. Could have been us last year. Could have been us. John Howarth, this team is so deep, needs to just find a way to get it done. Drury for sure did everything he could have done with the team. It's up to the players. And that's the thing. You know, when they had Henrik, they should have got that guy, should have got that guy. They could have done it, and they didn't do it. There was nothing the Rangers could have done that they didn't do. Like they're ready for war. I'll take this team against the East. For me. Next show, I'm not sure. I got to find out what the Rangers schedule looks like. We'll try to get one in before the playoffs. But I want to thank all of you because earlier today, the BlueTruth Facebook page broke 3,000 followers. And the last 2 months-ish has been unbelievable for the Facebook page. We've doubled in 2 months. You guys are awesome. I can't thank you enough. As I mentioned, and again, if you're watching, give us a like on the show. It helps everything when there's more interaction. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege to be able to go live, just talking hockey with you, talking about this team that we love, that I know all of you, if they find a way to pull this off, are going to be the happiest bunch. I am just going to be cloud nine. I mean, I try not to get ahead of myself. I don't cheerlead. That's one thing I don't do. If I think they're bad, I will tell you they're bad. If I think they're not going to win, I will tell you I think they're not going to win, and I would be happily wrong. This team's got something. It doesn't have a weakness. Does it matter? No. Doesn't mean anything. But they have a legit shot. And the front office has done everything they could have. Whatever happens, you're not going to look back on this year with the regret of, man, they could have done something more. You'll be pissed at certain players that didn't perform in the playoffs, and that's going to happen. But this is a good team. This is a very, very, very good team. Joe, both Boston goalies have 0 playoff experience. That's true. And look, I mean, I'm sure Ullmark's had a nice year. Come on. Linus Ullmark's no Igor Shesterkin. It's just not. So in a playoff series, I'd like Kane to be a little faster. Okay, well, all right, Bob. All right, Bob. You can complain a bit. It's all right. No, I look, but Bob. I mean, that kind of goes back to what I had said before around this idea that him and Brad are just kind of one dimensional at this point, and that's fine. You just can't put them on the ice together at 5-on-5 because then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You got to keep them separated. Offspring, keep them separated, but they're still very effective. So I'm good. I was, Bob, I was on that boat. I was on the get Brett and Kane together, rekindle Chicago. They were so good. It's like, okay, well, it's not that time anymore, right? So I'm sure Mess and Gretz could play well too right now, but they're a little older. It's working. I love these lines. I hope that these lines stick. I think that they balance so well. Because as we said to start the season, they were gonna dick around in their top two lines to keep their third line together because that third line works. This is a mix I think works. So I'd like to see more of it. John, first timer here, have to catch the next one. John, welcome. Hey, listen, thank you for taking the time. You've been on most of the show tonight. I appreciate the hell out of that more than you know, because it's awesome talking Ranger hockey with you, with all of you guys. And what's better than this? What base is better than our base? I love going to the Garden's like a drug to me. I probably go too much, but whatever. It is what it is. I mean, for me, it's a 2-hour drive up the turnpike and a train ride, a short one now because I go to Secaucus. But I mean, I'm from South Jersey, for those of you who don't know. So I'm in the middle of Philly, Atlantic City. So when I go, it's a project. I took my wife yesterday to the city for the day. We did the Friends experience because she loves Friends, and we went to the game. Good day. Hope to get my little guy there next year. I'm not going to wood. I love going. That building's fantastic. And then for last night, I mean, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Jeff D'Amico, love the insight. Thank you. Hey, brother, listen, I thank you. Okay, this is all the pleasure's all on this side of the table. So thank you for that. Kurt, what's up, brother? Cheers. How are you? Dude, I like honestly, I love Mark's insight. Like Mark just drops these lines so often that it's perfect. Mark's the man. I don't want to hate Panarin 2 playoffs in a row. Listen, he did score the game 7 win. Yes, I agree. He didn't have the best run last year, and I thought that he'd have a better season this year as a result. Whatever. Yes, he hasn't been a big playoff guy. Michael, no, thank you. Let's go Rangers. You're only kidding. I know. I have to at least entertain it, Bob. So you're fine. Steven, great show. See you the game tomorrow. I won't be there tomorrow. Actually, the last night was my last regular season game of the year. Hope to get there in the postseason. I'm sure I will. And that place, if you've never been there for a playoff game like this, it's the best. Tom is right. If you're buying blueberries and they're not from my hometown of Hamilton, pick them up, throw them in the garbage. They stink. Only from Hamilton. Atlantic Highlands here. Okay. I knew a guy who lived up there. He used to kind of work for my company, but as a contractor. Bob, I live in Hamilton. I actually used to work up by you. So I worked for Scott Trade in the Toms River office off of exit 81 of the Parkway. It's been a while. My company was bought again. So now it's TD Ameritrade, now Charles Schwab. But yes, I'm familiar somewhat with that area because I used to drive from here to Toms River every day. That wasn't fun, but I did it. Corey, I would lose my mind. Oh, it's Corey. These are the things, right, that go through my mind. So, last year, I'm watching the game. I'm watching game 3 on my back deck with my dad, who I'm sure is watching right now. And I'm and they're up in the game, it was first period. I'm so if they win, right? We're going to the parade. He's like, you're going to go to the parade? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the parade. You're not going? He's like, no. I'm like, the hell's wrong with you? Of course, it didn't matter because they didn't win a game again after that. But where I am, I've mentioned this to my wife, let's just say the greatest thing, the Rangers win the Stanley Cup. What do I do with my life? What do I do with my hands right now? What do I do? I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm 2 hours away from it. What am I going to do? Again, I would love to have that problem. But I'm just saying, what do? You run outside and spray each other with champagne and go to bed? What do you do? I would be, I don't know. I hope to have that problem and have to figure it out. Peter, yes. Always a pleasure talking to you, and I do hope that we have a lot more of these going into June. Kevin, late arrival tonight. You're late, sir. That's all right. Don't worry. He seemed invigorated since the Kane trade. Yeah, I think so. But I do think it makes a lot of sense to keep them apart. I think that they're not good together. I think they're too defensively irresponsible together. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you if you are one of the 3,000 now followers on Facebook. You guys are awesome. If you're watching the YouTube replay, you can also subscribe on YouTube. All the replays go there. I'll be posting the show there. It'll be there in the morning. But thank you all. Listen, let's keep this ride going. Got a dozen games left. We'll try to get another show in before the playoffs start. And hopefully we got a lot of playoff shows all the way to mid-June. Wouldn't that be something? Guys, thank you all for your kind words. Thank you to Ray, our resident Devils fan, who's very respectful. I can appreciate that. Ray actually caught me on the review and preview. I joined those guys for a hockey show. They're all wonderful. I really enjoy kind of interacting with a bunch of people. Again, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Check out the Sportsbox for everything that we do. Mark, I was living in Fort Lauderdale when they won in '94. And what are the New Yorker high Albertsons at midnight? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Mark, I don't know what I would do. I hope to find out, because that would be the greatest thing. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Let's go Rangers. Keep your eye on the page. I'll be posting when I'm going to be on next. You guys are awesome. You're wonderful. Let's go Rangers. See you soon.